Oh, oh wow, that came up really loud there.
That's
If anyone wants to pause or ask a question or anything, just pop it in the chat and then we can take it from there.
amazing. Perfect. Right, guys, I'm going to share my screen with you. Here we are. Right, can you all see that okay? Wee thumbs up? Yep, amazing. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this training, Get to Know Your Time of the Month. This is a subject that I know both me and Nicole love finding out more about. It's quite new to us ourselves. Like I would only say maybe the last year, I've started to try and learn a little bit more about it because it's really interesting. Now, I definitely will not be able to solve all your problems around time of the month today. But I think the key thing is just becoming more aware. If we can get to know our bodies more, we might not always have the solution and we can't control how the hormones are going to make us feel, but what we can do is if we're aware of what's happening, we'll know, all right, I'm not crazy or I'm not just super hungry and that it could be the hormones. So awareness is key, and hopefully you'll be able to take some of that away with you today. So wait a minute, is this going to let me go here? There we go. So this is what we're going to cover today. We're going to look at the hormones, so the reproductive hormones, and we're going to look at estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. So we'll cover those three and the effects that they have throughout your cycle. We're going to look at training and nutrition strategies to actually help improve adherence. So a lot of the time, people maybe feel like when they're starting a health and fitness journey, looking at their nutrition, their training, and then maybe time of the month happens and it can throw people off because they feel like maybe they can't stick to the calories that they're on, or maybe training's really hard. And a lot of the time it's when people give up. But if we can look at ways that you can combat that and again understand it that help you be consistent, then that is really going to change the game for us. We're also going to spend a bit of time looking at managing emotional eating. Now, this isn't actually directly linked to the cycle, but I find it really interesting and it does go quite well. And again, roundabout times of the month, it's when emotional eating happens. So hopefully you'll take a lot of benefit away from that. We're going to look at tracking your cycle, and there's just a short wee bit at the end on supplements. And again, that's not actually something that we can really advise as such, but there is two that are well known to sort of help. So I've added them in there. So let's get straight into it. Estrogen. This is the happy hormone. I've put both spellings of estrogen up there because I think one's American and I used to get confused, but it's the same thing. One's just got an O in front of it. So estrogen, like says, the happy hormone, and this acts on the brain to reduce appetite and hunger. It's got an effect on leptin, and leptin is, like say, the hormone that's responsible for appetite and energy expenditure. It prevents inflammation and prevents muscle damage, and DOMS. So, and I remember I never used to know what DOMS were. It's delayed onset of muscle soreness. So, you know, if you've been in the gym and maybe you're not sore the day after, but it's about 2, 3 days after and you're really sore. So that's DOMS, delayed, oh, there's, sorry, someone coming in, that's Karen. Delayed onset of muscle soreness. Now, when estrogen's higher in your cycle or in your body, it actually prevents this. And that's maybe sometimes when you go to the gym, you're not sore at all, and other times you're agony. It helps bone mineral density. So, again, obviously amazing for women. And it's responsible for our characteristics. It develops breasts. And it's also where we store fat in the body, which is on our breasts and in the lower body. And that's why sometimes we'll notice a change in boob size as well. And then it plays a key role in mental function. So probably as you're reading through this, you're like, oh yeah, like these are all are good things. It's a happy hormone. It's a women. It's responsible for their characteristics. It prevents muscle soreness, and it helps hunger. So lots of great things there. And mental function. Keep that in mind as well. Oops, pressing the wrong button. Oh, sorry, 1 second. There we go. Right, progesterone. So the opposite. It's the pain in the butt hormone. And I want to talk about the hormones first, because then when we look at the cycle, you'll start to see that when one of them is more dominant than the other, and they sort of change over. So progesterone, it's a steroid hormone, and it converts into other hormones, which makes it problematic. I'm not going to go into that. We want to make sure that the information you can actually take away and use today, but it's a problematic hormone, but it's essential for the reproductive cycle, making babies. So it causes an increase in body temperature, which increases energy expenditure. Okay, so you ever felt like a time of the month that you're really hot? And BMR is your basal metabolic rate. So this is how much energy you expend when your body's completely at rest. So say, for example, I didn't get out of bed tomorrow, I would still expend about 1,200 calories by not even doing anything. So when progesterone's higher in your cycle, this is increased by 2 to 10%, which can be anywhere from 100 to 300 calories extra. So when you're, like, say it's, even though that some people might be like, that's a good thing, but it's harder to manage, okay? So obviously you're going to be hungrier. If you're expending more energy, you're in a further calorie deficit and you're going to be hungrier. When it's more prominent in your cycle, it cancels out estrogen's positive effects. So remember all those positive effects in terms of preventing inflammation, helping hunger. So those two combined, you're sweating more and you're expending more, and then it's affecting the hunger hormone. So actually the increase in hunger is higher. I hope this is making sense so far. And then it blocks testosterone and a decrease in the body's ability to adapt to training. So obviously if we know we're going to go into testosterone next, but that can help us feel strong. Progesterone's blocking that, and it's affecting your body's ability in the gym. So that, combined with an increase in body temperature, is going to negatively affect your performance in the gym. So you know how sometimes you go into the gym, things feel great, you're smashing it, other times things feel heavier, it's harder, you're sweating, so it really is a pain in the butt. There's another wee one on progesterone here. Oops, wrong way, sorry. So as progesterone increases in the luteal phase, which we're going to look at, the tissues in your body accumulate more water. So we're going to weigh more on the scale. And that's why me and Nicole will tell you, sorry, somebody's waiting them. That's why me and Nicole we want to educate you on the scales can be a great measurement of progress if you really understand them and know that fluctuations are going to happen, especially around time of the month. But if you are sticking to say you're in a fat loss phase, fat loss is your goal, and you know that you're sticking to your calorie deficit and your energy expenditures, your steps, your walking and things, your gym sessions, you're still losing body fat, even if the scales are telling you different, because you're hanging on to more water with progesterone in the body. It also, this is interesting, it slows down the speed of which food passes through your system. So you're not going to the toilet as much. You could be constipated, bloated, meaning you're going to weigh more. Another reason why the scales will fluctuate. And again, when estrogen and progesterone fluctuate, it causes more fluctuations on the scales. And this is also why if you're peri or menopausal, it's a good idea just to stay away from the scales as you've had a drop in hormones altogether. So there's just not a true reading for what your body composition looks like. And that's why we always recommend your progress pictures. Let's go on to testosterone. So this is me and Nicole feeling super strong. I remember actually all going well anyway. I was tracking my cycle at this point and I should have had my wee spike in testosterone here, which did line up. And I was like, well, if I believe it, it's working for me, I'm going for it. So testosterone, we have on average 1/15 to that of men, but that ranges between 1/10 and 1/30. It produces body hair, acne, oily skin, muscle tissue, and it increases performance in the gym. So high testosterone in women, this is unfair. I do believe this is unfair. If women have high testosterone, it actually makes us store fat around about our middle. Men are the exact opposite. If they have high testosterone, they actually lose body fat around the middle. Like, how is that fair? But we get a little spike of testosterone round about ovulation. And again, you're going to see that in the cycle. And this is when you might feel a little a strength increase. And again, I've absolutely felt it. And it does happen. And sometimes people like athletes and things like that will actually plan competitions or whatever round about the time of ovulation. So they'll get a wee spike in testosterone. So you ever felt super strong in the gym? That's maybe why. Do we have any questions so far? Anybody want to jump in?
You might feel a bit more horny during testosterone spike as well.
Got the horn.
But there's no questions in the chat.
No questions in the chat. Perfect. It's so nice to see so many of you here. I'm absolutely buzzing. Yeah, I remember lining up at High Rocks. I was like, obviously we didn't plan it, but I was like, I had only just started tracking my cycle maybe a couple of months before. I was like, oh, Nicole, I'm ovulating. I'm going to be
I
strong.
thought you were going to tell me you felt horny at High Rocks there. I was like, oh, me too.
Oh, me too. Yeah, because there's a lot of lovely men, luscious men around there.
Darren was like, oh, we should have a hinge app here, people at High Rocks. Good idea. I think you should get on that.
I love it.
Right, where are we up to? So those are the hormones. Hopefully you picked up a little bit there. I'm going to kind of keep repeating a lot of stuff as we go, so it should kind of you might pick up a little bit, and feel free to take some pictures as well. As I say, I've maybe delivered this maybe 3 times now, I think, and each time I do, I remember something a little bit different. So this is our cycle. Everyone's is completely different. This is just a wee photo I found on Google, but the cycle can last anywhere between 24 and 33 days, and the average is 28. So day number 1 of your cycle starts on day 1 of your period. So here we have a period maybe lasting about 6 days, and everyone's completely different. And actually at the time of your period, hormones are all pretty stable. They're all pretty much the same, and they're quite low. A lot of the time people will think, oh, I've got a period, like this is shit. And as much as it's quite annoying because you're maybe having a bleed, it's actually a pretty stable time. I think we can get caught up a lot of the time thinking like, oh, it's time of the month, I'm just going to eat loads of shit or whatever. But you're going to learn a wee bit more about certain times when that might happen. So the 3 hormones that we're going to look at, like we spoke about, estrogen is your lovely 365 female colour here. I didn't plan that, by the way. It's a turquoise colour. So as we see, let's follow this wee line. It starts off period, it's pretty normal, and then after your period, it starts to rise. So we get an increase in estrogen. Remember all those amazing benefits. We don't always feel as hungry because leptin's leveled out. We're not as sore from the gym, and we've got a clear mind, and we're feeling like maybe quite focused, and we might feel less bloated because we're probably going to the toilet more. Then that's why sometimes after your periods stopped, you might feel like Superwoman. Then testosterone, you get a wee spike. So again, ovulation could be about day 14, and you get a wee spike just before ovulation. That stays pretty stable though the rest of the time. We might not notice that so much. And then let's look at progesterone, the pain in the butt. So this is the purple one. There's 2 phases, okay? I'm saying sorry there, I forgot to mention this. There's your follicular phase and your luteal phase. Follicular phase is about the first 2 weeks, then you've got ovulation, then you've got the luteal phase. And as you see, after ovulation here, progesterone starts to rise. And because it's more dominant than your estrogen's still quite high here, but progesterone's higher, so it's cancelling out estrogen's positive effects. So we're going to get sorer from the gym, more DOMs, we're hotter, our performance is down in the gym, things feel heavier, we're hungrier, it's a tough time. And actually at the kind of very late stage of the luteal phase, this is where people sometimes experience PMS symptoms, which we're going to come on to. So usually maybe that week before your period, that's the tough time. But again, everybody's different, so it's really important that we figure out what it is for you. There we go. So I think Nicole was definitely in our follicular phase here. This is our first fitness competition. Absolutely, she was loving life. So this is when we're going to go into training and nutrition, sort of some strategies that you can start to think about that might help you understand, right, okay, in this phase, I can push a little bit more, and then in another phase, I might pull a little bit back. So this is the first 2 weeks. You got peak feelings of well-being and mental function, like we've said. We typically weigh our lowest at the earliest days of the phase, at this phase. When your period stops, you tend to feel like Superwoman. And actually that feeling of motivation, now motivation is just a feeling, it's not really something that we rely on, but it is higher. So you could think to yourself, right, if I'm feeling this, I'm going to use it. If you want to go to the gym more because you're feeling it, go more than 3 times, go your 4 times. It's totally up to you. I would say if motivation is high, use it. Now, these next 2 points as well, I'll read them out first and I'll tell you. So you could increase your deficit because your hunger levels are more stable. If you're not feeling that hungry and you want to increase your deficit, you're like, do you know what? I can handle it at this stage. And you could increase the intensity and the volume of your training. Now, I wouldn't start mucking about with this unless you really understand your cycle. So I would say, like, if you were maybe coming to us and you regularly noticed, actually, I'm not that hungry at these 2 weeks, and it was a regular thing, we could then say, right, okay, we can drop your deficit. But I don't want you to start going in straight away and thinking, I'm going to cut my calories here, I'm going to increase my intensity and volume. It's all about really trying to understand you and your cycle. And if it felt good for you, then we'd do it. Hope that makes sense. Then let's look at so that's the first 2 weeks. The luteal phase, there's me in my luteal phase. I actually don't know if I was at that point, but it's a good photo for it. So this is when progesterone is more dominant. So decrease in performance and recovery. You could reduce volume and intensity. So the volume is like how many days you train, the time that you've spent training, or you could increase your rest time. Just because the body just maybe might need it. So again, rather than going in the gym and maybe expecting so much from yourself and expecting to PB and I should lift as heavy as I did last week, if you knew this about your body and what phase you were in, it might help you be more consistent if you said, right, okay, I'm going to go in and I'm just going to move the body, I'm going to take more rest, and I'm going to listen to how I'm feeling. So this is when it can come in handy. As we said, you'll weigh more because you've got more water retention. It's not body fat. It's just the hormones playing games in us. And this is where as well, if we've seen trends, if you were tracking your cycle for a couple of months and we've seen always at a certain maybe week or 5 days, I'm hungry here and I'm struggling to stick to my calorie deficit, that's because you're expending more, your BMR is higher. We would say, right, okay, let's increase your calories here. Because if you were trying to stick to, let's say, 1600, for example, that's just a random number, and at this time when you're expending more, you're actually in a further deficit. So that's like you actually trying to stick to 1400, which we know is really low. So hopefully that's starting to make sense. So rather than thinking I can't stick to it, it's like, no, we actually give you that little bit extra, knowing that actually you're still at the same. And it helps adherence. We can increase protein, of course. That's always a good idea. It helps keep you full. And like I said, at that late luteal phase, that's when you can experience mood swings, low energy, sore boobs, cramps, stress, migraines, emotional eating, depression, and extreme cases is PMDD, and that's premenstrual dysphoric disorder, which again, you could go to the doctors if you were experiencing that. Right, where are we? Any questions where we're up to just now? Again, feel free to ask, go ahead. If there's anything you're thinking.
I don't have a question, but I love this, and like understanding this has been so helpful for me in the last few months, especially that week before, like the luteal phase that week before when you're like, I can't be fucked, I've not got the energy, I've not got this. What I found is like, although your hormones affect you, and yes, you do take a physical dip in that week, the mental dip is 10 times heavier. And I was always letting the mental dip, if you like, win. So I was going into the gym like, there's no point, I can't do it. I've not got this, but I changed the attitude of that to like, I'm going to go in and like I'm going to do what I'm going to do. Like I'm just, as long as I turn up and as long as I do something, it's better than nothing. And then what I noticed was the physical drop wasn't actually as big as I thought it was, because that week I sometimes still was getting a PB and still was making progress, but I was almost blocking myself from doing it because I was letting well, I can't do anything, I'm useless because I'm in my luteal phase. Like, so just allowing myself to go, but giving myself permission to not be on top form that week and just letting my body do what it felt like doing. I actually realised I was in better shape than I thought I was, but letting my mind take over and understanding it and just kind of giving myself permission to be kinder to myself that week made such a difference.
That's amazing to hear, Karen. And you're so right. I think, like you said, maybe if before you had been like, oh, this is crap, I just can't do that, the performance probably dropped more, but
Yeah.
because you're being kinder, you're like, oh, actually, performance is, I'm even still progressing. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Actually, just for a wee show of hands here, I'm going to put this thing there but I can see is all. Who has maybe in the past started like a new sort of, I don't want to say diet, 'cause your diet is just what you eat, but you know, like, right, okay, I'm starting this new thing. I'm going to the gym and I'm looking after my nutrition, but has maybe got a couple of weeks in and then time of the month's hit, or you've not really known what's hit, the hormones have hit you, and you've thought, fuck this, I can't do this, and maybe given up. Who's done that before? Yep, I see hands up there. Awesome, thanks for being honest with us. Yep, definitely. Brilliant. But now you'll know, oh, wait a minute, there's things we can do about that. Okay, so I believe we're going into Emotional eating next. Sorry, it keeps going the wrong way. Right, yes, we're going to look at emotional eating. So this can be obviously in a way related to your cycle, but also just people suffer from this a lot. So I thought it'd be really useful. So again, creating awareness, like we spoke about at the start, over your habits can make you feel more empowered in your choices. So if you, like I say, rather than maybe thinking that all or nothing, like I've stuffed it because I've had a bit of chocolate, but then now you understand and being aware of, actually, maybe I'm hungrier. I'm now hungrier, so I'm going to be wanting more. And when we're hungrier, we sometimes just jump for the chocolate. So there's two different types of hunger. You've got your physical hunger, which comes on a sort of slow, gradual hunger. It peaks at usual times, like lunchtime, dinner time, so on. You want a variety of foods, not just the one, and you would eat to fullness. So that's physical hunger. Emotional hunger, it comes on abruptly. It can be triggered by something, an emotion. You usually are craving just like one type of food, like, oh, I want that, or one or two. You tend to overeat, not ever really satisfied, and maybe actually feeling uncomfortable, but you keep going, and then you're left with feelings of guilt or shame. So that's your two kinds of hunger. And I want us to have this is just a wee task for you here. So I want you to think back to the start of this week. I know it's hard to actually think too far back. So just from Monday, can you think of one time you've been emotionally hungry and then physically hungry? I'm actually going to write this down as well. I'll give you like a wee 5 minutes. So write down if you've got a piece of paper, or you can get your phone out, doing your notes. Emotionally hungry, physically hungry. Think what caused it. Was it just because it was a usual time to eat? If so, that's physical hunger. Or was it a trigger? What food choice did you go at both times? So was it something that you really wanted to eat, or was it something that you're maybe, just grabbed quickly? Couldn't even remember eating it maybe. And how did you feel after? Right, I'll give you a wee 5 minutes. I am going to do this as well because it's happens to us all. Put a wee song on just in the background. I'm just going to go back to that last slide as well. There's your physical hunger and emotional hunger.
Karen, I've just typed out my little response there, but then just noticed what you've written above.
You wrote the
They're
same
so
thing.
good.
My
I don't know if
response
you've had
wasn't.
these. They are like the best gummies in the world. And you were talking about like emotional hunger, and I'm like, oh my God, these are right beside me. And they're like you don't get them in the UK, but I've got like 5,000 bags of them at home in Scotland. And they are amazing. They're like Haribos for the gym.
Oh,
So you actually get creatine gummies from My Protein, and I bought them once and only once because I did eat them like sweets. You're not supposed to eat them like that.
Well, luteal phase gals, what can I do?
Little face.
I am doing a
Luteal phase.
Spartan peak luteal this weekend, and I'm like, what have I done to myself?
You're feeling the fear, and you didn't want to be a shite bag, so.
No, because you put me on Instagram, I can't anymore. You told
Well,
everybody.
I interpreted your as they want me to do it, so I've done it for you. You'll thank me for it after it when you feel fucking like a warrior.
I'll feel something. I'll definitely feel something.
Just about one more wee minute there. Still trying to work this laptop. There we go. So think about what caused it. Was it just a normal time, just having a meal? What food choice did you go for? And how did you feel afterwards, after both? Yeah, I'll pause that wee music. Right, I'll give you a wee idea. I just thought back to mine there. So I thought physical hunger was breakfast today. I just had eggs and toast, and it was a kind of slow, gradual hunger, and I felt nothing after it. Felt happy, felt fine. But the other day, it must have been an emotional hunger, and I grabbed the Biscoff jar, spoon right in the Biscoff jar, and if there was only like luckily, well, not saying luckily, but there was about 4 spoonfuls left, or there would have definitely would have ate more if there was more there. And I think what caused it was just maybe, I think it maybe been like a long time since my last meal, so I was hungry. I was like, right, I need something quick. And then there was not much feeling after it, like actually because it was just a couple of spoonfuls, but like I say, the feeling after it, I'm glad there wasn't more there, or it had been demolished. Anybody else, anybody want to share with if they've experienced emotional hunger this week or physical hunger?
I think for me, I enjoy both like when you eat after physical hunger and emotional hunger, in the moment I enjoy both. However, when you're physically hungry, I think you feel a lot more satisfied after eating it because you've eaten a proper meal after being really, really hungry. So for me, when I go out running afterwards, I'm starving and I savor every like little bite because I've enjoyed it and I've been like, right, okay, I'm absolutely satisfied now. So I enjoy both in the moment. However, sometimes when it's emotional eating, I sometimes question, oh, was that actually worth it after it? It's good in the time, but maybe after it's like, didn't actually really want that.
Yeah. And I know going back, like I think we've probably, I mean, you now, Nicole, are quite in terms of emotional eating's nothing in what it used to be. Like if this had
No.
been a couple of years ago, it'd have been the emotional eating, it'd have been like the Biscoff jar plus the packet biscuits, went to the shop, bought, a full shebang, because it was for me, it was completely emotional, and there was no control around it. So yeah, I guess like say for if we were going a couple of years back, it would have been completely different. But yeah, oh Anna, I see you've got your hand up there.
Yeah, I can share as well as Nicole. I enjoy so much when, after the gym, for example, when I make breakfast, I actually celebrate it so much because it's, oh my God, every bite is amazing. So see, like my breakfast, I am addicted to like hash browns, a bit of bacon, 3 eggs, lots of veg, halloumi. Oh my God, like everything, every little bit, it's like I'm actually moaning because it's so good. And you know this song, like it's Friday day, do 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 do. So always singing, it's hash brown day, do 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 do. So we got hash brown day, and I am spreading that around as well. Like I've got gym buddy Hazel. You've met Hazel, so I brought her to mine, and I got her hash brown day, and now I think she's doing this at home as well. So spreading word. But about emotional eating, yes, I am good at this, baby. So for example, lately I've been very guilty of when I fill my car at the gas station. I buy myself these pretzels in salted caramel chocolate. Oh my God, it's my very guilty pleasure. And sometimes out of nowhere, like I am driving, I'm like, oh my God, I want these pretzels now. And I'm just looking when I can buy them, and I stop and I devour them. Like, yeah, so that's emotional. But I also notice, I was asking myself why, and I had a little bit of stress in my business, a little bit. So maybe that was linked. But yeah, I enjoy both.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for that, Anna. That's a great share. And it's so good, like you've explained there, like there's almost a trigger of, yeah, stress. And the emotions can be like happy. So we will eat when we're happy. It can be stress, it can be sad, but it does sometimes make us grab something. And I think as long as like afterwards you're like, all right, I enjoyed that. Yeah, I maybe ate it all in a winner, but I'm fine with that. That's important. Definitely.
But you know what? I also wanted to mention, because every girl, it's guilty after we eat something shit. But I notice I am more compassionate to myself, and I speak to myself like I would speak to my best friend. I wouldn't speak to my best friend like, "You fat cow, what you do?" I'm like, it's okay. You had this moment. It's fine. Tomorrow reset, and you come back to right track. And I think helps a lot, because how we speak to ourselves is so important, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said, that's what you'd say to your best friend. You would never say like, "Oh, Connor, you were so terrible," because it would just make them want to be worse. Giving yourself that compassion, saying, "I'm human. We all do it." It allows you to get right back to the habits that your helpful habits straight away, rather than that beating ourselves up. So I think that's really important, which is fab. Well done. Right, we're going to have a wee look at some tips. So some tips and things you can do if you find yourself emotionally, and sometimes it can get like out of control, which again, if you know a little bit about my story, I have absolutely been there with binge eating. So yes, this, if anyone struggles with it, hopefully this will help. So here's some tips that you can do. And you can create space between the trigger and the action. So if you find yourself almost maybe in emotional eating or in a binge and it's just happened, you can actually say to yourself, and it can be hard in the moment, it's very hard in the moment, but if you're able to create space for 30 minutes, it has been shown to like interrupt overeating in binges, which is great. So you could ask yourself, if you can catch it before the action, then great. Don't worry if you can't, but you can ask yourself, am I hungry? How will I feel if I eat this? Like, was I triggered, and what was the trigger? So like I say, it's really difficult in the moment, but if we can start to find out, again, more awareness, it really does help. So finding a solution. If you ever find yourself in that emotional eating state, find a solution. It could be a walk, phone a friend, text me and Nicole. As I said, there's absolutely zero judgment from us, knowing how it feels. You can drink water, go for a shower, or focus on breathing, but you find yourself a solution that works for you. This one here, I like this as well. Avoid becoming too hungry. So if you think of the scale like 1 to 10, 10 being absolutely ravenous, 1 not hungry at all, you don't want to let yourself get over a 7. That's when you're going to tend to overeat, grab things on the go, and potentially keep going. Because I know if I was over a 7 on level of hunger, I would be emotional. I'd want some food. Where are we? The wrong way. Number 3, so tune into how being full feels. And again, this ties in quite nicely with actual physical hunger. It's very difficult to do. A lot of the time we will tend to overeat, which again is great when you've got the mindset around it to say, do you know what, I enjoyed that. But there's a wee analogy I heard once and I thought it was quite good. So, if you've got like a rubbish bag in your kitchen and you're filling it with rubbish, and sometimes you can take it to the bin outside, you can tie a wee knot in it and you're like, right, that's nice and neat. Other times it's absolutely overflowing and it's spilling out the top. Try to think to yourself, right, okay, your stomach is that bag. And ideally, to be a nice, like a level of full, you want to be like tie just a wee knot in it. Not a big knot, just a wee knot at the top. But sometimes you'll know if you've overate, if you're thinking that bag is absolutely overfilled, cannot tie a knot in it. That's probably when we've maybe been eating a wee bit like overeating there. Tip number 4 is try to include trigger foods. So if you've got something that you maybe think is a bad food, we want to move away from that. Things that we think, I can't have that. Or maybe a food that you have maybe had in the past that once you eat, you want to keep going and you can't stop. But we encourage you to try and include these foods into your week. So if you do crave more chocolate during your luteal phase, have some. Increase your calories a little, knowing that you're expending more and you're going to be hungrier and you're going to want some chocolate. Then increase it, and again, it's going to allow you to stick to be consistent. That's what it is about being consistent. And try to eat these foods slowly and enjoy them. Because if chocolate is one of your favourite foods, you should not want to ban it ever out your diet if you enjoy it. You shouldn't feel guilty for eating something that you love. So try not to shame or ban that from your diet. And we have one more. So if you find yourself in emotional eating or in a binge, trying to record the thoughts and feelings around emotional eating. Now, I know this is hard and it's probably the last thing you want to do. I found myself was there for many years, would want to brush it under the carpet and think that never happened, but that would usually again have more feelings of shame or guilt on myself, and I just wish I had done it sooner. If you think about it, a problem shared is a problem halved, and that could be sharing it with your journal. Journaling's awesome, or like I say, messaging me and Nicole. That is what we're here for, with zero judgment. So yeah, and I would say we're not qualified to support with binge eating and disordered eating, but we can point you in the right direction. And I think just knowing that you're not alone in it is really, really useful. So back to your tracking your cycle. This is really great. Hopefully now you're thinking, right, okay, this is making a little bit of sense, but you might not have a clue where you are in your cycle. You might just wait for your period to come and think, all right, it's time again. But there is really useful ways to track. So you've got the Flow app on your phone. There's one with a thermometer. I'm actually going to use that soon when I come off the implant. You take your temperature or something, so then that'll tell you when you're ovulating. There's the health app on your phone. There's one called Natural Cycle. Good old-fashioned calendar. And what I'm going to show you next is I've just been using the notes in my phone to track my symptoms. So symptoms you could log would be your mood, if you're maybe feeling self-critical, confused, anxious, how your confidence is, how your body image is, obsessive thoughts, if you're feeling depressed, irritated, things like cramps, discharge, tenderness in your breasts, migraines, acne, backache, fatigue, bloating, cravings, sleep patterns, bowel movements, stress, and alcohol. So there's lots you can track, and they all do like make a difference in your cycle. So what I thought would be really funny, and I was doing this for a couple of months, Nicole was laughing at me, I think. I was like, look at what I'm experiencing today. She thought it was a great. So I've actually added it to a calendar, and it does line up with the hormones. But again, it's not always going to, like, we're not a textbook, so it's not going to say what the textbook does, but I thought you might find this quite funny. So this was in March, and I've just took it from the notes on my phone. Day number 1 of my cycle was the 15th of March. Okay, so there's not much to report on those first couple of days. I feel okay on my period. I'm quite lucky, not much cramps, so not much to report there. Couple of days in, I'm feeling happy. My energy in the gym is, and my hunger's good. I remember feeling that at the time. I was like, hunger's quite good. Same again, not that hungry. A couple of days later, ate reasonably well. But it takes a turn. Here we are. And again, this doesn't line up exactly with that cycle that I showed you, but I'm feeling anxious, overthinking what I said. And I remember telling Nicole this day, and that was just a week after. The next day I wrote, I'm tired, I'm not excited to get up. A couple of days later, I'm still overthinking, but I'm feeling strong in the gym. Then here we go, PB baby on my deadlift. And that should have been roughly at ovulation. So I was like, all right, this is making sense. Next day, felt lots of spots on my face, eating lots of chocolate, and I had a lot of aggy moments. I was getting a bit aggy, but annoyed. A couple of days later, I was feeling bloated. I wasn't feeling body confident. I went for a run, but I was very sluggish. But then I ate well, so a little bit of a mix there. Following on, this is quite the funny one, I think. Not excited to train, and I didn't have a great body image day again. Then next day, argued with Liam. I'm a bit aggy again. I think I was a bit temperamental. Couple of days later, I am hungry. And then also here I added that I only done one talking video on my social media, and I think that must have been down to me just feeling a bit like, oh. And then a couple of days later, I wanted to hide under a blanket and sleep. So that was pretty much a month. And then I wanted to do it for a couple of months because I wanted to see if there was trends. 1 month's not going to tell us everything about our body. So again, day 1 of cycle, not much to report. Was feeling strong. A couple of days later, skin was a bit of a mess. So that was kind of lining up. Here we had, I wasn't recovering from training at all. I could hardly walk. Yes, that could have been down to what I was doing, but it was like really struggling. Feeling quite stressed, wanted chocolate for about 4 days. Then I had a snackathon. Then again, this worked out well. 1 month after High Rocks, we had another competition, and I felt so strong. It could have been the adrenaline, but it also lined up with ovulation, which was cool. And recovered from the competition. Great. I wasn't even sore. So it's so amazing. And then 2 days later, I was not expecting a very heavy period, totally out the blue, not had cramps in years. So that was just 2 months. I have actually fallen away from it the 3rd month, as like we don't want to give you something else to track, but I hope if you find it interesting, it could be a little task for you. So the next cycle from day 1 of your period, if you fancy it, jot down in your notes what you're experiencing. Try it for a couple of months and see what you discover. It could be really interesting for you. You might have a wee giggle as well. And then you might, like, if you do feel your mood dip and then you see it happen 2 months in a row, if you can start to then, you'll feel more in control, almost knowing, right, this is going to happen. What can I do about it? Be with people that you love, be with positive people, maybe be on your own. So yeah, it can really come in useful. Any questions from where we are just now?
The way Flo does that's so good. So you can just, the same as you're doing in your notes, Michelle, you can just like put your symptoms in. You just like press buttons and log what symptoms you've got, whether it's like you're crampy, you're moody, you're depressed, you can tell it if you had alcohol, like how your sex drive and stuff is. But you can, it's just like click buttons to fill in so many things. If something pops in your head of like, I'm experiencing or feeling this today, you can just pop it in the app and put it in. But it then starts to predict them. And it like, so every so often, like I'll be like in one of those days where I'm like, well, I'm going to get fired today. The whole world's burning. All my friends hate me. And then Flo will text me and be like, you might be feeling a little anxious today, because it knows that that's like a pattern for me in my cycle. And I'm like, oh, the world's not ending. We're good. We're going to be okay next week. And it's like it starts to learn Subscription, I don't know how much it is, but it's not expensive. The I think, yeah, probably £30 for the year's about right. It's not
Yeah.
so expensive.
Do you know, because you can there's a free one as well. I was using the free one with Flow. And then I found actually I ended up going into my notes and I was finding that easier, but I'm going to go back to it because I like it is good. It brings up so much. And like say, £30 for the year is really good to actually have the more advanced one, which will really, really help you understand your body and stuff. So I'm just looking at the wee chat box here.
Even just having the unpaid one and knowing when your cycle starts, when ovulation is, it can just really
Did you
help
just say
make sense.
ovulation?
Ovulation. Ovulation? Ovulation. Tomato, guys.
Shite, Jobby.
Estrogen with a fucking ear and oh. Just pick your fancy. But anyway, as I was saying, it can really make sense of things. So, for example, when I'm having a poor body image day, it's easy just to look and flow and be like, right, okay, that makes sense. So it doesn't have to be paid. It's just
Yeah,
a way
totally.
bringing awareness, like you said.
Because if we've spoken about this before, Nicole, like we could have a bad body image day and the next day feel absolutely fine, or vice versa. And we know that our body's not changed in one day, but in your head, oh, it's changed. Like, and then you just need to remind yourself, no, it's not. But even if your mind's telling you that, you can just say, no, it's fine. See, Sarah, thank you. I think we're on the last wee slide. Anyway, let me see. Oh yeah, wee quick one on supplements. So I think you can get this first one in Holland and Barrett, and it's called Vitex, who knows? But research has shown that a reduction in PMS symptoms like cramps, mood swings, etc. It's not great for PCOS though, unfortunately. It makes symptoms worse, which is a shame. And there's a wee, I think it tells you on the back, like the dose. But everyone is different. If you had more severe symptoms, you would take more. Calcium's also meant to be really good. So this one's just actually from My Protein. And it would be great if you could get it from food, of course. We always want to promote that. But if you're really struggling, apparently large doses of calcium help cramps. So you can take a wee photo of them if anyone struggles with that. But yeah, we'd love you to get to know your cycle. Like say, in a way, sometimes it's, what am I trying to say? We don't want you thinking, oh, right, I'm going to be hungrier at this time of the month. I'm just going to eat more. You can get in your head about it, which sometimes you don't need. It's only if you were if you were struggling with certain times in the month, then I would say it's a really good idea. But if you're actually neither up or down, then it's fine to just roll with it. Like say, I've only just started really looking at it. So yeah, it's entirely up to you. You can let us know if you start to track and what you notice. Because yeah, it's good to get to know your body. But thank you so much, everyone. That is us done. Any questions? We will hang around for a wee couple of minutes, so please let us know. But I hope you've enjoyed it and hope you've took some information away that you can use.
Thank you so much. I'm going to jump off.
Thanks, Karen. Bye.
Thanks,
Have fun.
Karen.
See you soon.
Thanks, girls.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
See you
you.
soon.
Thank you so much, kiddos.
Bye.
Appreciate
Thank you. See
it.
you later.
See you soon, Pamela. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye, Nicole. Bye, Ashley.
Oh, did you see me love hearts coming off your hands there?
Oh,
Yeah.
that was... Oh.
It did that to me on a call with, I can't remember who I was on a call with. I was like, did you see those love hearts? She went, yeah. But it only
Oh.
happens for the host, I think.
All right.
So
Oh,
look, mine doesn't do it, but because you're the host, oh, it does. MacBooks are so cool.
Wait a minute. Check us like that.
Red. No, that doesn't
Don't think I've done that in years.
See, with the thumb out and everything. Nah, it's not.
Oh, I forgot to get a wee picture. Still recording?
Stop recording. We can cut that off.
How do you stop recording?
No, that needs to stay in because that's funny.
Oh my god, right, your screen. Oh wait, I did record that.
You did, aye. Well, you said you were about to press record.
Remember it came up. You're recording.
Aye, it did. So you're fine. I
find
got
it.
one wee kind of video, but you can only see like me, you, and 2 other people in it. But that's
Oh,
fine.
that's all right. Oh, thank fuck, stop recording. Oh,